talked about this already in the previous slide, getting your larger donors together to tell their stories and become ambassadors for your mission. This is something Cliff Christopher suggests. It's dangerous. It's a volatile thing to play with, but it has some reward to it if you think about it. Of whether or not in a larger church setting, this will not work, I don't believe, in a small church setting, but in a larger church setting with more than 100 in worship, maybe you can get your top givers together for an evening to thank them, some punch and some cookies. Let them tell each other why they think it's important that they're doing this, and then let them work recognizing who's not in the room that they think ought to be. Not to say, well, we had this event, you weren't there, but to be able to just talk to them about why giving to the church is important and encouraging them to practice their own generosity. Again, multiple ways to give. Electronic funds transfer is becoming the most effective and efficient way and most cost-effective way to give folks a way to give other than by check or cash. And the nice thing is that when they're doing it by electronic funds transfer, their money comes to church whether they do or not. And that's a nice thing for the cash flow side for the church, and for them to be able to be consistent with the commitment they have made to their giving. Electronic funds transfer should be able to be set up by the bank who handles your church's checking account. They should be able to give you a form that is very easy for your members to fill out, and your members attach a voided check to it. They sign it. They have their name and address on it. They have the amount they want given and the frequency in which they want it given. And if your bank is not willing to do that with you, you need to find another bank. Most banks are wanting to move away from checks and paper, and so they're very excited about electronic funds transfer to do it. You know, in the church, we make it so difficult for people to give because so many people don't carry checks anymore. This is very true of young people who don't carry checks or cash. Everything is by the swipe of a card. And most of our bills in our household are paid online. I'll just be honest with you. Everything from the newspaper to the electric company, you know, it just comes out of the checking account every month. That's just how we do it. And the church should get in line with that and get into the 21st century and make that available. Larger churches that have websites that offer events and things that people might need to sign up and pay for might consider PayPal as a way to register for Vacation Bible School online, or to register for that book study you're going to do. You can order the book. Yes, there's a fee for PayPal, but it is easy to set up, and the fee is not extensive. And honestly, you can simply add the fee to your online price as a way of indicating, you know, it costs us 4% to do this. And so if you're registering online and paying this way, the book is, you know, $15.95 instead of $14.50. You know, whatever it is, you know, this is the way we do it. And if you're promoting a particular mission online that you want people to get excited to, have a donate button they can click. Let them use their information. Large churches, and this is churches over 1,000 on the weekends, should be really considering. In fact, I think churches over 500 now, because of the popularity of this and convenience of it, should be thinking about looking into text donations. Text, you know, this number, and it makes a $35, $50, whatever donation, and it's taken off on your phone bill. I think that's something that our larger churches need to look in. That will never be practical at this point for our smaller churches, but something our larger churches should look at. If you're using some kind of way to give other than cash or check, then you need to have a card printed up to give to people who make their donations that way, so they still can put something in the offering plate. They still have something that goes in, even the way the check is really not money, right? I mean, it represents money, that their card represents their gift, and it can be blessed in the liturgical act of receiving the offering and having it dedicated for the mission of Jesus Christ. So provide something they can drop in there. A church I was at had a laminated card, said I make my gift electronically on one side, and on the other side had 2 Corinthians 8, you know, God loves a cheerful giver. Accept other gifts besides cash. Can you do that? Can you receive somebody's 1967 Mustang or their stamp collection or their coin collection? Are you prepared to do that? That's another way people can give in an economy where cash is a little tight. Some of our more mature members have some of these other gifts that the grandchildren don't want, or maybe there aren't grandchildren, or they just would like to be able to do something and don't see a way clear to do that because the cash is a little on the tight side. They can make an in-kind gift. We talked about that earlier. Really important is to give people time to prepare. I just recently did a pre-assembly event at the General Assembly of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. Worship was going to be at 7:30 that night. We started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and in my opening announcements at 9 o'clock in the morning, I said, I want you to know that in tonight's worship, we will be receiving an offering, and here's what it's for. Then when worship began at 7:30, I said, later in our service, we'll be receiving an offering, and here's what it's for. And then we had the moment of the invitation to give. So there was yet another opportunity to talk about this and give people a moment to think about how much do they want to give and to dig out their checkbook or fumble through their purse or wallet to get out their cash to make the gift. Give people time to prepare. Don't surprise them with the offering plates on Sunday morning. And don't assume because everybody comes to church, it's always the same people every week, that you won't have a visitor who you will catch unaware who may want to make a gift because your sermon has inspired them to do so. And always have pens in your pews. I know the trustees get upset, your property committee, the kids writing the hymnals and we can't get it out. Well, kids are going to write in the hymnals and you're not going to get it out even if it's pencil. But nobody writes a check with a pencil. You need pens available if you're going to give people an opportunity to give, if you're going to give them time to write a check. Have pens in the pews so they can do it. Again, be clear about your expectations and lead by example. Let people know that, we're a church that practices the tithe. We're a church that practices generosity. We're a church that's growing in discipleship, and that's a commitment, and that's what we do. And as the pastor, don't forget that it's a spiritual issue. Don't shrink from making a proclamation and be real clear about what's expected of the spiritually mature. Don't back down, but you can't do it that way if you yourself are not practicing it. You set the mark, and you have to be out front leading. Don't forget to challenge people who are joining your church that this is an expectation of how we function as church together. And don't forget to have a routine for giving. Annual campaigns to underwrite the vision and mission of the church do a much better job in attracting resources than those who don't do annual campaigns. And a routine for giving includes what we talked about earlier, the electronics fund transfer that automatically puts that routine in place for you, offering envelopes, the reporting quarterly to let people know where they are, a routine and a sense that this is important helps people practice generosity. Leaving an offering plate in the back of the church and treating it like a tip jar does not do as well. And I know that within the emergent church movement and with our younger folks, there's a real resistance to want to talk about and collect an offering. But it is a spiritual issue, folks. And the offering of our gifts and the blessing of those gifts for ministry is a part of liturgy, and it can be done effectively and richly. So don't lose that chance. Remember, it's a discipline, right? It's a discipline. Practice makes permanent our intentions. I once had a music teacher who reminded me that practice didn't make perfect because you could practice the wrong thing, which I had a tendency to do sometimes. Practice made permanent. So the importance of practicing correctly is important, and the routine of practice then makes permanent our intentions to be faithful followers.